I'm Alex Crook, talkSPORT's chief football correspondent. Welcome once again to The Window. It is the last day of the initial transfer window, so let's get straight into all the big deals. Manchester United are not bound for the Club World Cup this summer, but that hasn't stopped Ruben Amorim trying to get business done early. Matheus Cunha already has completed a £62.5 million move from Wolves. Talks advancing with Brentford for their forward Bryan Mbeumo, and one other name to look out for when it comes to Manchester United is that of Viktor Gyökeres, a player who did so well under Amorim's tutelage at Sporting. He's also on Arsenal's radar, although they appear to be diverting their attention to RB Leipzig's Benjamin Šeško. That might just enable United to nip in. It is a key position this summer, particularly given the poor form last season of Rasmus Højlund. And crucially, as we've already reported at talkSPORT, Gyökeres is not fixated with playing in the Champions League. So could Amorim persuade him to reunite at Old Trafford? On the subject of Mbeumo and Manchester United, it was reported over the weekend that Thomas Frank's move to Tottenham could see them hijack a move for the Brentford forward. My information is that Manchester United remains his preferred destination. They're willing to meet his £200,000+ a week pay demands, and we know that offers have already gone in to Brentford. The Bees are looking for a similar fee to that United paid Wolves for Cunha, so around £60 million. Tottenham are looking to bolster their forward area, so I wouldn't completely rule it out, but I still think Mbeumo more likely to pitch up at Old Trafford than the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Well, the whole reason this early deadline was introduced was to enable those clubs going off to America for the newly expanded Club World Cup to bolster their ranks. Chelsea have been looking to do that in terms of a goalkeeper. Despite briefing a couple of weeks ago, they weren't looking to bring in a new number one. They have made an offer for Milan's Mike Mignon. Doesn't look like that will happen between now and 7 o'clock. Chelsea willing to pay £15 million. Milan value Mignon at nearer £25 million. And Chelsea have told the Italian giants if this deal doesn't happen today, they will walk away. It's a slightly different scenario when it comes to Chelsea and Jamie Gittens. We know that they've been in talks with Borussia Dortmund. Again, there is a gap in valuation, but unlike Mignon, they are willing to keep talking to Dortmund beyond the 7 o'clock deadline this evening. This is a deal that could happen later in the summer. The window reopens on June the 16th. We know that Jadon Sancho won't be staying at Stamford Bridge after his loan spell from Manchester United. Gittens is seen as the man to fill that void. One player who will be on the Chelsea plane bound for that Club World Cup is the former Strasbourg defender Mamadou Sarr. The 19-year-old has completed a £12 million move to Stamford Bridge. Chelsea and Strasbourg are partner clubs, so this was a relatively straightforward one to do. He signed an 8-year contract at Stamford Bridge. So Chelsea maybe not quite as busy as we anticipated in the first 10 days of the window, but they did also complete a £30 million move for Ipswich striker Liam Delap. There was a bit of a club versus country row there because he was initially going to play for England at the Under-21 European Championships this summer. Chelsea have pulled rank. He will be playing at the Club World Cup, and I'm fascinated to see if he's the starting striker ahead of Nicholas Jackson. Either way, you can guarantee Chelsea will do much more business, both in terms of incomings and outgoings, between now and the window eventually closing at the end of August. It promises to be a frenetic final day of this initial window at Manchester City, the champions in need of reinforcements this summer after an underwhelming season by their own high standards. Rayan signed over the weekend from Wolverhampton Wanderers. I'm a bit perplexed by this fee, actually. It's only around £33 million up front. He's 23 years of age. I'm not convinced that's a brilliant piece of business from the selling club. Wolves. Other arrivals, Marcus Bettinelli, he's been released by Chelsea. He'll go in as City's third-choice goalkeeper after Scott Carson ended his medal-laden career at the Etihad Stadium. I say that with a chuckle. It's not a bad life to be in if you can be a third-choice goalkeeper at a Premier League club these days. Other deals we expect City to complete on this deadline day, initial deadline day, I should say. Tijani Reinders from Milan, he let the cat out of the bag over the weekend when he said he's already completed his medical and he'll be off to the Club World Cup. And also Rayan Cherki of Lyon as well. A £33 million deal agreed for him. I was really impressed with Cherki when he played for Lyon against Manchester United in the Europa League. He's a bit of a maverick. It'll be interesting to see how he fits in to Pep Guardiola's system. So 3 first-team players already in at Manchester City. They have delivered on their promise to get business done early in the window. Pep Guardiola did tell me, though, after their final day victory at Fulham that cemented their place in the Champions League, he doesn't want a big squad this season. We know Jack Grealish is not going to be part of the travelling party for the Club World Cup. Everton and Tottenham, as well as Napoli, among the clubs showing interest in him. So I think focus at City now will be to get players off the payroll, not just Jack Grealish. John Stones, who's had an injury-hit couple of years, I expect him to leave as well. And I wonder if they'll be open to offers for Bernardo Silva. Watch this space. One other club that's been mentioned in pursuit of Jack Grealish is Erik ten Hag's, yes, Erik ten Hag's Bayer Leverkusen. We expect Florian Wirtz to complete his move from Leverkusen to Liverpool, and Grealish could be a possibility to link up with the former Manchester United manager in Germany. Like Napoli, they have an advantage because they can offer Champions League football. One of the most frustrated set of supporters so far this summer are Arsenal fans. I think they were hoping that their club would follow in the lead of Chelsea and Manchester City and even Manchester United and get some signings over the line early. That hasn't quite happened, and there's been a little bit of conjecture in Spain over the past 48 hours that maybe Real Madrid could hijack their move for Martin Zubimendi. Rest easy, Arsenal fans. My sources are telling me Arsenal very confident that deal will go ahead. He's already agreed personal terms. They've already agreed a payment structure with Real Sociedad. My understanding is they'll pay slightly over his £51 million release clause to stagger those payments. Now, of course, he was close to joining Liverpool last summer before a last-minute change of heart. But I do think he is going to stick to his word and end up in North London as opposed to the Bernabeu. The one position Arsenal really need to strengthen this summer is at the top end of the pitch. I hate to say it, a lot of pundits agree with me. The lack of a proven number 9 really cost them in the Premier League last season, maybe in the Champions League as well, when they had big chances in that semi-final against PSG, particularly in Paris, but couldn't stick the ball in the net. Kai Havertz is going to be fully fit for the start of the new season, but he's going to need some help up there. Will it be Benjamin Šeško? Will it be Viktor Gyökeres? At the moment, Šeško looks the more likely. Andrea Berta, the new sporting director, has been in direct talks with RB Leipzig since the end of last week. They are still talking to Sporting about Gyökeres as well. So I think one of those two will sign on the dotted line, but Arsenal fans are going to hope that happens quickly. Another player who's been linked with Arsenal is Leroy Sané, the former Manchester City man. I think he still wants a new contract at Bayern Munich, and that's why maybe his agent is touting him around. He's also been offered to Tottenham and Newcastle, but I think he's more likely to stay in the Bundesliga. What about Kepa Arrizabalaga then? Once the world's most expensive goalkeeper, I reported last week he was in limbo because Bournemouth weren't going to sign him permanently after a loan spell at the Vitality Stadium, despite the fact he won a couple of Player of the Year awards during his time with the Cherries. Looks like a short move across the capital from Chelsea to Arsenal for Kepa. They're going to trigger his £5 million release clause. He took a pay cut upon joining Bournemouth on loan last season, so it's a relatively cheap deal for Arsenal as well. He'll provide competition for David Raya, but in reality, he's not going to play too many games in the first team. Well, one of the sagas of the summer so far is Florian Wirtz and his potential move from Bayer Leverkusen to Liverpool. We reported over the weekend the German side have rejected Liverpool's latest offer of £113 million. They want nearer £125 million. That would be a British record fee. Negotiations continue, and Wirtz has made it pretty clear that Liverpool is the only move for him after rejecting the advances of both Manchester City and Bayern Munich. There is optimism at Anfield. This one gets done. One other deal that is moving towards a positive conclusion when it comes to Liverpool is Milos Kerkez, the Bournemouth left-back, somebody that Richard Hughes, the sporting director at Anfield, knows very well from his time on the South Coast. I'm told that one is pretty much done, barring a few minor technicalities, and Bournemouth already have their replacement lined up. They've agreed a fee with Rennes for their left-back, Adrian Truffert. He will have a medical at the Vitality Stadium in the next few days, and the expectation is that Bournemouth announce his arrival at the same time that Kerkez departs for Anfield. What we know about Liverpool and their owners, the Fenway Sports Group, is they don't spend big money without bringing money in as well. Obviously, they got a really good fee for Trent Alexander-Arnold, effectively for the final month of his contract as he joined Real Madrid on a free transfer. with Liverpool negotiating a £10 million buyout for that last month of the contract. Darwin Núñez is a player they are actively looking to move on this summer. Just hasn't worked at all for him in the Premier League. Maybe there's a warning sign there for anyone who signs Viktor Gyökeres after doing well in the Portuguese league. If he does go, Saudi Arabia looks like Darwin's most likely destination. Al Hilal have just fouled in an attempt to sign Victor Osimhen from Napoli. He rejected that move to the Saudi Pro League, so their attention will now turn to Núñez. And finally, let's turn the spotlight on Newcastle United. Had a brilliant season last year, ended their 7-decade wait for a trophy, qualified for the Champions League for the second time in 3 seasons. Eddie Howe keen to strengthen their squad. Frustrating summer so far. They held talks with Dean Howson. He was only ever going to join Real Madrid. They were in from Brian Mbeumo as well. But as we've already mentioned, Manchester United is the club for him. What about James Trafford then? Had a record-breaking year at Burnley. He's a player that Howe, the Newcastle manager, has admired for a good couple of seasons now. Talks have got underway between Newcastle and Burnley. They're not advanced. Burnley want £30 million for the England under-21 international. Newcastle really keen to get this deal done, so certainly one to track over the coming weeks. So that's the first part of the summer transfer window taken care of. It opens again on Monday, June the 16th, rolls all the way through until 5 p.m. on September the 1st. That 5 p.m. deadline is to fall in line with the rest of the major European leagues, so a little bit earlier than usual means I'll get to bed earlier on deadline day. But what can we expect between now and then? Well, I think focus will turn to the clubs not competing at the Club World Cup, with both City and Chelsea getting their business done early. I do think Brian Mbeumo will complete a move to Manchester United. Then they'll try and get players off the payroll, the likes of Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho and Anthony, before focusing their efforts on a striker, maybe Viktor Gyökeres. Tottenham are going to have to back Thomas Frank, their newly appointed manager, in the transfer market. They've already missed out on Angel Gomez. I don't think they're going to get Mbeumo either, so he's going to want to do business. Antoine Semenyo is one player that Spurs have spoken with. It would take a fee in excess of £65 million, though. That would be a club record for Tottenham to price him away from Bournemouth. Aston Villa may have to sell players to strengthen their squad. They'll be feeling the pinch for PSR after failing to qualify for the Champions League. And then you look at the newly promoted clubs. I expect Leeds to do big business. Their owners, the 49ers Group, will be keen to give their manager Daniel Farke the best possible tools to stay in the Premier League. Sunderland have already lost Joe Bellingham and their playoff final hero Tommy Watson, so I'd expect them to bring in some players as well. Whatever happens, we'll keep you right across it here at talkSPORT and on talksport.com. I'm Alex Crook. Thanks for watching another episode of The Window. We'll be back when it reopens on Monday, June the 16th, for more breaking transfer deals.